Today, we're going to talk about capitalism and racism. Racism is capitalism's trump card. It's handmaiden. It guarantees that each class is divided into warring factions that fight amongst themselves because of their differences, not their similarities, and therefore proving that each class is incapable of coalescing and rising up in solidarity against the corporation, also known as the capital, or the controller, the government. It is opportunistic and it is endemic, and it emphasizes, as I said before, and promotes the differences among the races and the ethnic groups rather than their samenesses or their similarities, therefore segmenting the populations of each class into warring factions incapable of joining together to fight the common enemy, which is the corporation, also known as the capital, or the government in this case. As in with Citizens United, the corporation has become the government. Emasculation of the populace, of the citizenry. The use of religion, the opiate of the people, use of ethnic and racial divides, and the fear generated by the apparition of the different, not the sameness, and the success, the pernicious success of the capital or the corporation in doing this. They do this, they sell this to us through advertisement, various nefarious means that seem to be totally unrelated to class structure or class struggle, encouraging consumerism, planned obsolescence, and therefore increased consumerism. The perception of what we want is what we need and therefore indispensable to life. Coupled with that is the pharmaceutical industry. We are also taught that we need medicines now to control our behavior because we are too depressed or too anxious or too angry, or we can't sleep right, or our legs wobble in the night. So we have all host of symptoms that have to be medicated. But what the real medication is, what the real result of that medication is compliance and obedience, and that is the point of them. Compliance and obedience to control the individual, to alienate and control the individual, to isolate, alienate, and control. And that is the goal of capitalism at all time, rendering the class unable to rise up against their oppressor because of their own imposed perceptions of their divisions rather than their community, solidarity, and common needs and goals. How do we overcome this racism? They tell us that in Cleveland they're going to overhaul the police system since they have been found to have inappropriate use of force against minorities and all of that. However, the Civil War was a very long time ago, and we have still not corrected the injustices that were perpetrated that caused the Civil War, that caused the necessity of a Civil War. So, why do we have any credence that the DOJ suggesting changes to the policing in Cleveland, in New York, in Baltimore, in all these urban cities is going to lead to any drastic change or any change at all, considering that the bloodiest war on American soil fought did not engender any change to begin with. It was cosmetic, and yes, it's true African Americans have somewhat more opportunity because they're not enslaved in shackles, but they are still enslaved in other ways. Just as the poor and the middle class are becoming more and more enslaved by the doctrinaire impulses of the moneyed, of the corporate, of the corporations, telling us that we must mind our business, stay in our breeches, because not to mind your business is akin to terrorism, to stay in your breeches by taking medicines, because after all, your emotions are impolite, unattractive, and unacceptable. And some of those emotions all happen to be emotions that lead to a contradiction with society, which results in a desire for citizenry wanting change. Secession of the states that want abortion restrictions, the same states also want to collapse the social safety net and to reframe the liberties guaranteed by the Constitution of freedom of speech, the right to assemble for protest, freedom of religion. Yes, we have freedom of religion, just one religion, and that has to do totally with Christianity. That is the only accepted religion to the secessionists. Now, what's interesting about the secessionist states, since they've rewritten their constitution, and that is in contradiction to the Constitution of the Union, so they are seceding. It is a supposedly bloodless, corpseless secession. However, it's not. It's just the corpses and the blood are invisible. Not unborn, but invisible. Now, it's also interesting that those same states are oil rich and are petitioning Congress for permission to drill more and on public lands and all of that. So that if there is a secession, the northeastern and the liberal states will be beholden to these more conservative, and I would hate to point out, states that have a Middle Eastern kind of mentality, a Saudi mentality, a Taliban mentality in terms of women's rights, in terms of the rights of the impoverished and all of that. The northern states will be beholden on them for oil, so that they will be also reaping the profits of the secessionism. And that is the same thing that was in place with the South when they gambled on the Civil War. They felt that their goods and services were so interlocked with the northern states' ability to survive that they could not be defeated because it was economic. They felt that the economy trumped civil rights. And we're having the same situation right now.